Is my
Yes,
screen
ma'am.
visible? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
madam. Visible, madam.
Okay. Thank you for the confirmation, sir.
Sir, I'm using the YouTube live streaming. Now I'm making you the host, sir.
Okay, madam.
Okay, sir. Now you are the host. Please continue, sir.
Okay, madam. Thank you, madam. Dr. R. Srinivasalu, sir, kindly mute your mic, please. Dr. P. Srinivas, sir. Yeah, thank you. Dear participants, welcome to this day two session of 1 week national level online FDP on trending and modern teaching methods. Dear participants, kindly introduce yourself through chat box, your name, designation, department, college or institute name, city name, etc. I repeat, dear participants, kindly introduce yourself through chat box, your name, designation, department, college or institute name, city name, etc. Sharp at 7:30, we will start the day two session.
Excuse me, sir. What you told, sir? We have to type everything.
Yeah, through chat box only. Speaker, madam.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, madam. Summarize yesterday's session and go ahead with your today's session, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Within few seconds, sir. Within few seconds.
ସେଇଟା ମୁଁ ଦେଖିବି ନା ମାନେ ହେଇଗଲା।
So, very good evening to all the participants who are present here in this 7 days faculty development program, which is focused on the topic that training and modern teaching methodology or methods. And multiple topics have been discussed or decided to discuss with you in this 7 days faculty development program, where one session on active learning strategies engaging the students beyond the lecture have been discussed in previous sessions successfully, where we discussed that how to engage the student during the session actively, so that he would get the maximum benefits of the session that you are delivering in your class. And in that session, we also discussed that what are the different strategies that you can adopt during the session, whether these are related to content delivery or whether these are related to assessment too. Both have been discussed in the previous session in detail. Today's topic for the discussion is technology enhanced teaching, which is including blended, flipped, and hybrid approaches. And I'm Dr. Kavita Daya, working as an assistant professor in Manipal University, Jaipur. Welcome you here in this session. So, before starting the session, let's have a quick overview of the session, that what the different content that we are going to discuss here. So, blended learning and flipped learning both are a model of leveraging the technology to enhance the student engagement and their understanding. In balanced learning, traditional classroom teaching is combined with the online instructions, which are also providing the flexible and personalized learning experiences to the learners. So, flipped learning, on the other hand, that reverses the traditional approaches by delivering the content online before the class, and it is also allowing in class time for interactive activities and discussions, including the problem solving. Both models promotes the deeper learning by encouraging the students to take the ownership of their education, while technology tools like learning management system, multimedia content, and interactive resources facilitate the seamless learning. These models also foster a critical thinking, collaboration, and greater student accountability too. So after a discussion overview, let's have a quick look at learning objectives of this session. And here, the first learning objective of the session is to make you or to introduce you about the blended and flipped learning model. We are also going to assess the students' learning in a blended and flipped model. We are also going to put some light here on in this session about the various challenges and different solutions in implementing the blended and flipped learning. And here in this session, we are also going to evaluate the effectiveness of blended learning and flipped learning model. So after discussing the different learning objectives of this session, let's start the session with the introduction or the meaning of the blended learning, where this blended learning refers to learning the different approaches where traditional in-person classroom instructions is combined with the online learning components. And this model provides flexibility to the students by allowing them to access the learning material, participate in the discussions, and complete the assessments online in addition to face-to-face interaction in the classroom. Blended learning is nothing but that you are delivering your session in the classroom. Beyond that, you are also engaging the learners through online mode too, right? So in online mode, you are including your study material that you are providing, that different assessments tool or the different assessment practices that you are adopting, different quizzes that you are delivering through online mode, and it is also including that how you are dropping the discussion statements in the discussion board or the discussion platform to discuss that content or to discuss that concept with the learners in the online mode. So it is the blended learning, which is including both online and offline, face-to-face plus online learning, both. So example at the University of Toronto, blended learning in computer science courses. At University of Toronto, the computer sciences department have implemented the blended learning in the courses like Introduction to Program, and students in this course are given access to video lectures, online tutorial, and coding exercises through a learning management system, that is Blackboard or Moodle. So if we are talking about in-person session, that during the in-person session or the class time, students work more on coding challenges in the small groups, participating in the collaborative model solution sessions, and they are having also one-to-one or one-on-one interaction with the instructor for clarification and for the deeper understanding of the programming concept too. If we are talking about the online component in the computer application program, then students are also required to watch the videos that are also available on the portal. And these video lectures on the topic that such as loops, variables, including the algorithms before the classes that we are providing online mode. And students are supposed to go through all these videos, all these video lectures before entering the classroom or before delivering the content in the classroom. So after watching the video, they are completing online quizzes to test their understanding too. So what are the different benefits of the blended learning? That first benefit is that it allows the learners to learn at their own space, including that they are also reviewing the complex concept before the class multiple times before they enter in the class through different video resources. So the class time is used effectively on for hands-on the practices. It is also giving the students a deeper understanding of the programming by applying the theoretical concept or the theoretical knowledge in the real world scenario. So if I'm talking about the flipped classroom, that is another model of uh, 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 teaching that is reverse to the traditional teaching approach. And in a flipped learning classroom, learners are the first introduced to the learning content outside the class, usually through online videos and reading and reading material. And class time is dedicated to engage the interactive activities such as discussion, problem solving, and group projects. What actually the difference between flipped learning and that another one was that blended learning is that in the blended learning, you are delivering the same content through online video plus the same content in the classroom session. But here in the flipped learning is that you are delivering the content or the concept in the video lecture, and you are engaging the learner through different activities like discussion board, like quizzes, like different real-time activities, right? So example here, if I'm quoting that Stanford University flipped learning in biology courses. At Stanford University, introductory biology courses uses to flipped classroom model. Before each class session, students watch these videos on the specific topics such as cell structure, metabolism, and genetic mechanism. So the thing is that first learner is watching the video, he is going through these videos, and then he's entering in the class, and you are not delivering the same content, but you are making him or her engaged through different activities in the real time. So if we are talking about the in class session or online learning, that during the class time student participating on hands-on the laboratory experiments, group discussions, and problem solving activities where they are applying what they learn from the different videos. For instance, after watching the videos on the cell division, they might work on group to perform a lab experiment demonstrating the mitosis and meiosis too. So another session that is online learning, that is in addition to different videos which are already provided through the portal that is accessible to the learners. Students are also able to access the interactive online resources such as simulation, virtual labs, which are also giving the similar kind of learning environment to the learner, which also help them to visualize the complex biological processes. What are the different benefits of flipped learning or flipped classroom? So flipped classroom ensure that students have a solid grasp of the theoretical concept before coming to the class, and this is also allowing them to dive straight into the into applying their knowledge during the face-to-face sessions, where class time is more engaging and focused on the active learning, where students solve the different problems, collaborate with the other team members, and ask the questions in the real time when he is in the classroom. So let's discuss how these model contribute to a deeper student understanding and engagement. Both are equally compatible, plus both are equally significant. So let's discuss first the blended learning, where blended learning contributes to deeper understanding by providing the students with multiple way of to engage with the material by combining different face-to-face learning with the online elements. Students can also reinforce their understanding of the content both inside and outside of the classroom. So the best example here, that if I'm talking to you, that the University of California, Berkeley, that blended learning in the business administration, where UC, that is University of California, Berkeley, business administration program using a blended learning approach where students combine in-person lecture with the online discussion activities. So for example, before attending the class on the marketing strategy, students read the case studies and complete the discussion before board activities on the online platform. And in-person engagement is that during in-person classroom engagement, that students are engaged in the debates and group projects based on the case studies, and which is also depending upon the understanding of the marketing principles and allowing them to apply theoretical knowledge of the real world business solutions. Online resources are including that online discussions also allow the students to reflect on the case study before class, and this is also helping them to come to the class prepared with the questions and insights. Let's discuss the flipped classroom, which is a model of boosting the students' engagement by shifting the responsibility of learning of the students. That is, students are expected to engage in the content before the classroom, and which is also meaning that class time is spent applying the knowledge rather than just passive absorbing the information. This, as we all know, that during the traditional teaching or traditional learning, we are delivering the content in the traditional learning, that you are delivering the content, learners are listening the content. It is somehow the passive learning, that only you are delivering your content and they are only absorbing. But in case of flipped learning, this is different, or in the case of blended learning, both are different, where student is already engaged with the online videos and you are engaging him in the classroom through different activities, through different uh, you know uh, personal engagement. So example here in the blended flipped classroom is that University of Michigan, that flipped classroom is in engineering courses. At University of Michigan, the Department of Mechanical Engineering used the flipped classroom model for courses like dynamics and thermodynamics. So before class, that students watch different videos, video lectures on concept such as the forces, motion, and energy conservation, and they are also providing with the interactive exercises such as quizzes and simulations that test their understanding of the concept. So in classroom activities during the class, students work in the group on problem test, asset, and conducting experiments and engaging in the activities discussion to solve the engineering challenges. Instructor walk around to provide the guidance and the feedback. Let's discuss the technology tools for the blended learning, where if we are talking about the blended learning model, which also combine the online and offline, both the things with each other, this is really heavily rely on technological tools to create an engaging, the flexible and active learning environment. So by using the learning management system, online resources, and multimedia content, universities and colleges that can provide rich learning experiences that support both in class and virtual learning too. So what actually the LMS is? Where LMS online platform that providing that organizing and managing the courses, content delivery, assessment, and communication between the instructor and the student. Where on the LMS all these things are available. Your content is available, your videos are available, your quizzes are available, discussion board is available, assessment tools are available, and if they are requiring any communication with the instructor, then another platform or another portal is also available on the LMS. So it is widely used by the universities to talk with the learners, to discuss with the learners, and to deliver the content through LMS, which is also very familiar and which is very uh, you know uh, uh, nowadays very much familiar to the learners and universities too. So University of Edinburgh uses the Blackboard, a widely used LMS, to facilitate blended learning in the courses like business management and medical sciences. And this platform also allows the students to engage in both in-person and online learning activities. So in-person learning, that professor conduct the lectures and the group discussions in the classroom while using the Blackboard to post the syllabus, presentation slides, and important reading material too. So online learning outside the class, students use the Blackboard to access the recorded lecture, participate in the online discussions, take the quizzes, and submit the assignments also. So professor can also track the students' progress through the system and ensuring that each student stay on track with the course at requirement. Let's discuss the online resources, which are also essential component of blended learning, which is also providing students with the material that they are requiring for the self-paced learning. And these resources also include the video lectures, academic articles, webinars, and interactive websites that student can access at any time, at uh, any point of time, wherever he is requiring. So, University of California, that Berkeley, that uses the online resources in economic courses. That University of California, Berkeley professors in economic department uses the combination of different videos, online reading, and interactive websites to enhance the blended learning experiences. So, if we are talking in-person learning, then instructor conduct in-depth classroom discussion on theoretical concept using the online resources as supplementary material for students' preparation and review. And online learning, students access the video lectures on a platform like YouTube or a courses website platform before coming to class, and the content typically include explanation of the complex topic like microeconomics and supply and demand, where webinar that professors occasionally host the live webinars to provide the deeper insights into key topics and answer the questions from the students. Here, if I'm talking about the multimedia content, that podcasts, interactive simulations, and infographics enhancing the learning experiences by providing the diverse methods of the content delivery that uses the tools are particularly effective in helping the students engaged with and retain complex or abstract concept. So, University of Phonics uses the multimedia in nursing program. At University of Phonics, that nursing program integrates the multimedia content such as interactive simulations, podcast, and infographics to support both online and offline learning. So, in-person learning is that students attending the lab sessions where they practice the clinical skills under the supervision of instructor use the infographics to explain the anatomical structure and medical procedures in a visual engaging way. And online learning, that students use the interactive simulations to practice diagnosing and treating the patients virtually. So these simulations replicate the real world medical situations, allowing the students to make the decision and see the outcome of their actions in a controlled environment. Uh, Nursing faculty also produce the podcasts that explain key concepts such as oncology and patient care. These podcasts can also listen to at any time, that allowing the students to review key material on the go. Let's here discuss that integration of strategies for technology tools in blended learning, where to integrate these technological tools effectively both online and offline mode of teaching. Instructors and institutions must adapt the strategies approach. So if I'm talking about the different approaches, then first is a structured course design, that professors need to design the course in such a way that optimize the use of both online and in personal activities. Yes, this is also adopted by Manipal University too, that online videos are available and these videos are prepared in such a way in very simple language with the simple and examples. The content is prepared or generated in such a way that every learner can understand that content easily without any hassle, without any discrepancy. For example, the computer science courses that might require the students to complete the coding exercise online, but use the class time to discuss and troubleshoot the coding challenges in the group. So, active student participation is that instructor must encourage active participation by integrating the discussions, quizzes, and peer-to-peer collaboration in both online and offline setting. For instance, online discussions through a platform like Google Classrooms that can allow the students to ask questions, share resources, and learn collaboratively before attending in-person lecture. And continuous feedback is that in both online and offline settings, instructors should provide continuous feedback through LMS platform. This feedback can be in form of graded quizzes, written comments on the assignments, or in even one-on-one video calls to discuss progress, ensuring that students receive guidance at every step of the learning journey. Oh. So, if we are designing the effective flipped classroom experiences, then flipped classroom experience is an instructional model where traditional lecture-based learning is received. In a flipped classroom, students first engage with the course content at home, often through different videos, readings, and online tutorial, then use the classroom time for active learning activities, which are including the problem solving, discussion, group work, and projects on hands. So, these models also enhance the student engagement to promote the active learning and to also encourage the deeper understanding by allowing the learner to apply their knowledge in a practical context. So, let's discuss the key principle strategies for designing the flipped learning, where effective flipped learning classroom design that rely more on several key principles to ensure that both the at home and in class experiences are impactful, where pre-classroom learning content, that first step in designing a flipped classroom is to create engaging and accessible learning content for students to review before the class. And this can also include pre-recorded lectures, videos, or podcast, reading, and interactive learning modules, and quizzes or the polls. So, what are the different key principles and different strategies for designing the flipped learning? Where the first thing that is coming here, that active learning in the classroom during the class activity, you are supposed to more focus on shifting from traditional lecture to active learning, where students can also engage with the material that they study. So it is including discussions, group projects, problem solving exercises, and case studies, and including the hands-on the experiment and different activities. So it is including the feedback and reflection, where a flipped classroom allowing more immediate feedback. Instructor can also address the misconception and provide personalized guidance during in the class activity, where self-reflection and peer feedback are also critical component of the flipped classroom, encouraging the students to access their understanding and to improve through collaboration. If we are talking about creating the interactive content for the pre-class engagement, that is another crucial aspect of the flipped learning classroom model. And this content also typically in the form of video lecture, podcast, and reading, which is also designed to prepare the students for in-class activities and making them active participation in their own learning process. So, by ensuring the content is engaging and accessible, where educator can also ensure that students are both motivated and ready to engage deeply during face-to-face or virtual session. Here, let's discuss the best practice of creating the video and lectures, podcast, and the readings. Where if we are talking first the video lecture, then video lectures are the most popular method for delivering the content asynchronously, that is allowing the learners to watch and review the material at their own pace before coming to the class. Means they are supposed to go through that video when that topic is being going to be discussed in the classroom, means before that, maybe first day, second day, or means any time before that session. So these should be short, means including 10 to 15 minutes videos, engaging the learner and directly tied to the in-class activities, and high quality virtuals, animations, and examples that can explain the complex concept clearly. So best practice for video lectures is that it need to be clear and concise content, and which is keeping the videos short and focused on one core concept or the topic. For example, a 10-minute video on Newton's law of motion is more effective than long lecture covering the multiple physics and concepts. Then we are going to discuss that visual aids and animation that use the animation or graphics to visualize the difficult concepts and chemistry courses. An instructor can also use the animation to show the atoms and molecules interact during the chemical reactions. So here let's discuss caption and translation, providing caption and instructions to make content accessible to the learners by hearing the experiment and or those who prefer to read along. Then another thing is podcast, where podcasts are great tools for delivering the content in a conversational style and ideal for reinforcing key concept and providing a deeper life into subject. Where podcast can also particularly engaging if they include interview, real world cases, and students discussion too. So best practice is that conversational tone that keep tone friendly and engaging. For example, podcast episode in history courses might involve a professor narrating the historical events but with a storytelling approach. So helping the learners to connect with the subject emotionally. It also starting with the overview of what will be covered, then break to the content into digestible segments in a few small pieces. So, for instance, a psychology podcast could include sections like key theories of learning and how these theories apply to real life scenario. Then regular engagement encourage the students to comment, ask the questions, and submit the different topics that they want to learn about in the future episodes, and this also creating a community feels and encourage a deeper involvement among the learners. For example, if I'm talking here that MIT uses the podcast for their open course wars and platforms in computer science, that podcasts are used to review the key coding concepts, and these are also using the discussion current stock technology and interview industries experts, which is also making the subject more relatable and up to date also. Let's discuss the readings. We are reading whether from textbook or research papers or online resources, all are fundamental or foundational in preparing the students for the classroom activity, and these must engaging the learner and well structured also, and not overwhelming the learners that you are overloading the learners through heavy content that you are delivering through online mode. So it is important to provide guidance for the students on how to approach these readings. So best practice for reading is that clear and structured, that is dividing long reading into smaller manageable sections, and each with clear heading, subheading, and discussion questions. For example, sociology reading on social stratification, that is providing the question after each section to help the learners to connect with the theory with the real examples too. So, if I'm talking about these supplements with the visual, then integrating the infographics and charts with the readings that can also help the students visualizing the data or more relationship as seen in the courses like economics and statistics, where interactive tool that use the platforms like Google Doc or Padlets for the collaborative reading, where students can also add some comments, ask the learners questions. मैंने मैसेज किया था ठीक है. So where the students can also add the different comments, ask the questions, and discuss the idea in the real time. So here let's discuss the example with the Harvard University, where the political science departments provide the curated reading list for each module, where students are also asked to write the brief reflection on each article before the class and making them reading more interactive. So these reflections are then used as discussion starter during in-person sessions. What are the different techniques for making the content engaging and accessible too? The first one is interactivity and gamification. Gamification is very important and interesting activity that you may adopt. So integrating the interactive quizzes, polls, and games into a pre-class content that provide immediate feedback and encourages the students to engage actively with the material. So best practice for interactivity, use the quizzes or the polls at end of the videos, lectures, or the podcast. For instance, after a mathematics videos on algebra, provide interactive quizzes that allow the students to test their understanding immediately. Their gamified elements, platforms like Kahoot or Quizlets can be used to gamify the learning experiences, and creating the leadership board or reward system for students who complete the challenges and platforms well in quizzes. Here the example is that at University of California, Berkeley, that biology department integrate the active interactive quizzes or online quizzes at the end of the video lectures. These quizzes allow the students to test their knowledge and receive the immediate feedback. And this is also especially helpful in large lecture-based courses, as it also allows the students to check their understanding before coming to the class. Here I'm going to discuss the personalization, which is offering the different experiences that allow the learners to choose their own learning path and pace. And this can also include allowing the learners to select the reading or interactive exercises that cater to their interest and or learning style. So best practice for personalization is that provide multiple learning pathway for different topics. For instance, in literature courses, students might choose to read the either classical novel or modern shoot theories stories depending on their interest, with both path reading to the same in the class section discussion. So adaptive learning technology, that is tools like Khan Academy, Coursera, both are allowing the learners to progress through content at their own pace, offering the additional support if they struggle with the specific topic. Another example is that University College of London that uses the adaptive learning technologies in its engineering department, where students can also choose the pace and path of their learning, ensuring that those who grasp the content quickly that can move ahead, while those who need more time that can revisit the content or engage in the more practice activities. Uh, another technique that you need to adopt that accessibility. Content need to be accessible to all the learners, including those with the disability. So providing the option like subtitle, audio descriptions, or downloadable transcript to make the content more inclusive. So best practice for accessibility is that closed captioning video should have closed caption for students with hearing impairments, and additionally video should be made available with the multiple languages options if possible, where it is also providing the reading material in PDF form, EPUBs, and video formats, so that students can also access them in the format of that suiting for them best. So example is that Stanford University that is providing the transcript and closed captions videos for all these online courses for students with the visual impairment, audio reading, and screen reader compatible content are made available. Here I'm going to discuss the active learning strategies in the blended classroom, where these strategies in blended classroom model encourage the students to take a more hands-on, engaging the role in their learning process. And these strategies also aiming to increase the students' participation, critical thinking, including the collaborative problem solving, and incorporating the group activities, case studies, and peer feedback into both online and offline classroom environments in the essential, which is also essential in fostering the deeper understanding and engagement too. How to incorporate a deep learning group activities and case studies and peer feedbacks in the learning. So here let's discuss how to incorporate the group activities. Where offline model or mode in management studies like IMB, students are divided into different groups to work in the real world business problems. And these groups are also then present their findings in the classroom. These encourage the collaboration, communication, and practical application of the theories that they learned in the session. So students may also analyze the market strategies, customer behavior, and operational efficiencies as part of the case studies or the projects. If I'm talking about the online mode, that during the online administration courses at University of Delhi, students are grouped into a virtual team through learning management system like Moodles or Google Classroom. They also collaborate via Google Doc or Slack to solve the case studies, analyze the market data, and prepare the group presentation too. And these tools also enable them to interact in the real time and develop a solution together, which is also fostering the teamwork and application of the theoretical knowledge to the practical scenario. IIT Bombay that use the case studies in engineering and design courses where students work in the team to tackle the real life engineering challenges that are included here, that designing sustainable solution for the rural infrastructure, and they are also presenting their solution in the form of report that after discussing the various alternatives within the group, and this process also encouraging the collaborative problem solved and critical thinking in the students or among the students too. So, and there is critical thinking where offline mode, which is political science at Jawaharlal Nehru University, students analyze the theoretical or historical events through different theoretical lenses such as Marxism, feminism, and post-colonialism. Professors ask the students to critically examine the causes and sequences of the historical events, and these are also encouraging them to ask the questions conventionally to interpretation and form their own arguments. If I'm talking about the critical thinking in the online mode, then philosophy courses at Banaras Hindu University, students are participating in the online discussions on ethical dilemmas using the online forum and LMS platform, where professors post a moral scenario and students also critically evaluate the situation using the ethical theories that they have studied. And peer responses that debate encourage the collaboration and diverse perspective among the learners. That is also helping them to develop a nuanced understanding of the subject matter. Where, if I'm talking about the example of critical thinking, then University of Mumbai that incorporate the different real world scenarios in the law courses, where learners are also working together in the case of law analysis in the group and asking them to identify the legal issues and how to apply the relevant legal principles and develop their solutions as a team member. So students also represent their arguments, and these are also required to critically engage with the cases and discussing the different interpretations of the law and providing the counter arguments too. If I'm talking about the offline mode, then in the psychology class at Tata Institute of Social Sciences, that TISS, like the students are required to present research findings to the class and receive the feedback from their peers. So after each presentation, students are also encouraged to critique the content constructively and providing the suggestions and posting the questions for further exploration too, where these process not only improve the communication skill among the learners but also encouraging the students to engage critically with each other work and enhance their own understanding through peer review. How to incorporate the feedback during the class session. So if I'm talking about the online mode, then Algappa University in Tamil Nadu that using the peer review system in the online courses, where students are uploading the assignments and evaluate each other's work using the set of rubric of the platform like Turnitin or Google Classrooms. And this is also allowing the learners to learn from each other's perspective and refine their work based on the peer suggestion. Then another example is that MIT University incorporates the peer feedback in both online and offline mode both. That is sitting for the group presentation. So students who are working together on a marketing strategy for a product that are required to present their ideas to their classmates. How to assess the learning students learning in the blended and flipped learning model, where in blended and flipped learning models assessment plays a crucial role in tracking the learners progress and reinforcing the learning and ensuring that learning objectives are met or not. So formative assessment quizzes and peer evaluations are effective tool for ongoing monitoring and feedback too. Formative assessment, which is including both online and offline. So I'm taking the example of offline, that Indian Institute of Technology Bombay, that instructor often incorporates the short quizzes and in-class discussions as formative assessment. And these assessments also allow the professors to gauge the students' understanding of the lecture materials and whether it is a quantum mechanism or electrical engineering principle on the weekly basis. And this also by giving the immediate feedback, professors can also help their learners to identify the gap in their knowledge, guiding them to focus more on areas that need improvement before the final examination. Then Harvard University, that instructors in the engineering department uses the case studies based informative assessments during in-person classes, and these assessments also require the students to analyze the real world scenario and present their findings in the small groups. Then formative assessment, that is a online mode, that MIT University courses often utilize the online platform like Google Classroom or Moodle to deploy the formative assessment. Where if I'm talking about the another example, that is University of California, Berkeley, that students take formative assessment at various stages throughout the courses, and these assessments include quizzes and short answer questions that are more automatically graded by the platforms, and these feedbacks providing designed to help the students identity area where they need there may need further studies before moving on the more advanced content. If I'm talking about the peer evaluation, that is another tool for monitoring the progress. That in case of the offline mode, then University of Delhi that integrate the peer evaluation in the English literature courses, and the students present their analysis of novel plays and poems or to their classmates. Another example is University College of London that students in the sociology classes evaluate each other's work based on the specific rubric, providing instructor that they access or they assess their peers' critical engagement with the topic and structure of the argument, including a deeper analysis of the content. Then peer analysis that is including the online mode where Bhartiya University using the peer review through online psychology courses after submitting the essay on the topic like child development and abnormal psychology, students review the peer providing the feedback on each other's work using the LMS platform. And peer evaluation also encourages the learners to engage the critically with the content and give them a sense of ownership over a learning process. Another example is Stanford University, where peer evaluation are also used in the online programming courses. After students complete the coding assignments, they are also required to review their classmates' work, including that they are providing the feedback on that evaluation, that is improving the functionality, efficiency, and clarity too. So how to align the assessment with the learning objectives in the blended learning? Where if I'm talking about the offline example that IIM, that is during the executive management program, blended learning is also implemented where a combination of offline case studies and online quizzes, all these together are used by the learners to use to assess the business strategies. And another example in the online mode is that IGNU, that assessments are designed to align with learning objectives in the online courses or regarding the online courses. For instance, the distance learning courses on the environmental sciences where learners are required to complete the monthly assessments, tool assessment requirement, quizzes, and final project. Then international concept that align how to align the assessment with the learning objectives in the blended learning, that in the offline mode at Oxford University in the blended learning approach for medical education, formative assessments such as clinical skill test and interactive case scenario that are conducted in the person, and these assessments are aligned with the learning objectives such as diagnostic accuracy and patient care skill. If I'm talking about the online mode, then University of Toronto in an online economic courses, assessments like multiple choice quizzes and case studies based alignments are used to monitor the students' progress, and these assessments align with the learning objectives like macroeconomics theories and financial analysis and policy implication too. What are the different challenges and solutions in implementing the blended learning during the learning? So, implementing the blended and flipped learning model while offering the numerous benefits in terms of student engagement and deeper learning, all these come together with a set of challenges. These are not free of any hindrance, and these challenges can also vary based on technological barriers, student resistance, resource constraints, and diverse teaching environment too. So, if I'm talking about the technological barriers, then definitely there are multiple technological barriers that are significantly challenging the blended learning and flipped learning both. So this includes insufficient access to high-speed internet, outdated devices, and lack of familiarity with the online learning platforms and tools. Then students to resistance, that as in previous session also we discussed that students themselves are also resisting for the change, that why we are going through online mode when we are comfortable with the traditional learning. Then resource constraint, definitely every institution, whether big or small, that educational institution is always having some scarcity of resources. So blended learning and flipped learning altogether require significant resources both in terms of time and money. So universities need to invest in digital infrastructure, which is also creating a high quality video content and providing the learning for both instructor and student. Then balancing in class and at home learning, that in blended and flipped learning model, that balancing the in class activities and at home learning content that can be tricky. So the risk is that students might not fully engage with the at home content, leading to discontent connect between home and class based learning. So best example is that University of Mumbai, that instructor have found that while students enjoy the flexibility of watching peer-recorded video lecture at home, and many students tend to skip the videos and come prepared to the class. So to ensure that students engage with at-home content, instructors can also implement the strategies such as gamified quizzes, discussion board, and pre-class assignments that ensure the accountability. Additionally, instructors can also use the analytics from learning management system to track whether students have accessed the required material and allow follow up the students who are falling behind. So in classroom activities, all these should be designed in such a way that directly reinforce to the online content to bridge the gap between two modes. So here, if I'm going to discuss with the diverse teaching environment, then it is implementing the blended and flipped learning environment or learning that can be particularly challenging in the classroom with the diverse students' needs. As we all know, that students are there having their own diversity with each other, whether it is on demographical, social, or psychological, or other variables are also included here. So especially when students have varying the level of technology access and learning styles to academic preparation. So if I'm talking about the example that rural areas of Tamil Nadu, that students can also coming from different educational backgrounds, all these are having our different digital literacy rate, and this diversity can also lead to disparities in how effectively students are able to engage with the online content in the blended learning model. So here let's discuss the diverse teaching environment. To address diversity in the students' background, that instructors should also differentiate the instructors by providing the multiple learning formats such as text-based resources, podcast, and visual aids for the same content, where faculty also should provide additional training session to help the learners to get the comfortable with the technology, and they should be also trained well in a proper way so that they can deliver their lecture to the online mode as well as through the traditional mode also. So if I'm talking about how to personalize the learning path with the technology, that is another very important criteria, where in modern educational landscapes, personalized learning that help to emerge a powerful approach to enhance the students' engagement, which is also providing and improving the academic outcomes and support diverse and learning style too. With the advancement in the technology, educators now have different tools to learn or to tailor their learning experiences to the individual students' need and different abilities, including their preferences too. So in the personalized blended and flipped learning model, where technology play a central role in facilitating the personalized learning, and blended learning also combine traditional face-to-face classroom instructions with the online components too, while flipped learning classrooms invert the traditional learning model by delivering the instructional content outside the class and allowing them to come in the class to for the interactive activities. So together, all these models offer an ideal environment for personalized learning where the student or the learner can also access the content anytime, anywhere, and all these are engaging them in a meaningful manner during the session and after the session too, or before the session. So personalized learning pathway with the technology that involves using the digital tools that adapt the content and activities to each learner's learning pace, where this is especially important in large classroom and diverse students population, where one size fit all approach may not be effective. So you need to prepare your content in such a way so that every learner can understand that content in an effective way. Means that learning process is not effective or not influenced by the personalized differences. For example, some online platforms like Khan Academy, Coursera, or Duolingo, all these are offering a personalized learning experiences where students can also receive the customized lesson based on their previous performance. So these performance platforms all analyzing the data from each learner's interaction and providing the suggestions for further learning, ensuring that each student's progress at their optimal pace without feeling the overwhelmed or under challenged too. So here let's discuss personalizing the learning path with the technology. Moreover, the personalized learning path also cater to various learning preferences, whether students prefer video content, podcast, or text-based material, or interactive simulations too. So by offering the multiple formats and adaptive content delivery, these tools also enable the learners to engage with the material in such a way that align with their preferred learning style, ultimately increasing their motivation and enhancing their learning outcomes too. What are the different benefits of learning in the blended and flipped model? That first benefit is faster learning pace or advanced students. So another benefit is that improved student engagement, where if I'm talking about the example that MIT, that online courses or online programs, students can also take the quizzes and participate in interactive problem solving activities that are tailored to their specific understanding of the material. Then another benefit is targeted support for struggling students. One of the significant benefit of personalized learning is that if it is providing additional support to all the learners who are struggling somehow with any specific topic, and they can revise it and rewind it and forward it again and again if it is required, instead of being left behind on the traditional classroom setting. Students can also receive a targeted exercise, different videos, and best explanation, which is also based on the specific need and helping them to catch with the classes. If I'm talking about the targeted support for the struggling student, where University of Delhi, that is adapting the learning system, allowing the learners to uh, register them for the courses like economics and statistical methods to revisit the fundamental concepts, and when they are identified as struggling, this is also done through the LMS, which is also providing supplementary reading and different videos related to the topic as it has to be mastered, or offering a more supportive learning environment to the learners. So another is better learning environment or better learning outcome. So personalized learning path increases the likelihood that students will fully understand the material as they receive the content that is more specifically tailored to the abilities and interest, and this leads to better retention of the knowledge and improved grades and higher level of the mastery of the subject. Here, if I'm talking about the best example, that University of Michigan that personalized the learning strategies that have been implemented in their flipped classroom model of the business management courses, where learners are engaging themselves with the video content at the home, and they are also participating in the real-time problem solving during the session in the institution also. So, if I'm talking about how to build up the students' accountability in the blended learning environment, that is quite difficult. That in the context of blended learning, where students' engagement in the both classroom and during the online activities foster students' accountability, which is also essential to ensure that he is productive or not, and how he is experiencing in the both mode. So, blended learning combines traditional face-to-face classroom activities, including the online elements too. So, accountability in blended learning environment is about encouraging them to manage their own learning effectively. Where if I'm talking about how to manage this, then there are multiple loops or there are multiple conditions that you can apply in your different videos, that if this is a stage that you are completing, then another video will open, otherwise it will not open. And if you are completing the quizzes, then another content or another video will open. So different conditions that you can apply in your online mode. So how to foster a sense of responsibility among the learners in both in class and out of the class learning, where in blended learning students also have a flexibility to engage with the content outside of the traditional classroom hours, and this is out of the class learning activity that is typically including both online module, video lectures, quizzes, and different assignments that you are giving through online mode. So to ensure that whether students are responsible for both the activities or not, you can set out the clear expectations that you are you know disclosing through online portal. Then you can also provide regular check-ins and feedbacks through the LMS. You can also encourage the active participations of the learners. So how to encourage the self-regulation and real-time management among the learners? That first thing that is coming here, that teach real time management skill to the learners. Then another thing that is provide the opportunities for the reflection and incorporate the self-assessment tool. Then provide the scaffolding and support. So here let's discuss how to evaluate the effectiveness of blended and flipped learning model. They're evaluating the effectiveness of blended learning and flipped classroom model. That is also a comprehensive process that also require both qualitative and quantitative idea, which is also involving the analysis of not only the students performing well or not, but also their engagement, including teaching strategies, improvements, and stratifications, and satisfactions and overall impact on the learning outcomes too. So what are the different techniques for gathering the feedback from the learners? That the first one is questionnaire or survey, that you can collect the feedback from the learners through different surveys or questionnaire, that you are having a different set of questions on a questionnaire and you are collecting feedback through that. I'm assuming that you are well aware about the survey and questionnaire. Then another is focus group and interview. Yes, you can go with the focus group, that you are collecting the feedback from the different learners who are part of that group. And interviews also you can collect the data through the interviews too. Then peer observation and colleague feedback, that is also another technique for feedback collection. LMS is that yes, through LMS also you can collect the feedback, that yes, whether learners accessing or going through all these activities or not. So assessing the students' performance, yes, formative and other techniques that all are available, quizzes, assessments, projects, all these are available here. that you can take the assistance of all these strategies or the methodologies. So how to measure the students' performance, engagement, and overall satisfaction? That first is you need to measure the student engagement. That how much he is engaged in during the session and during the online mode too. And measuring the student satisfaction, that is another a tool or another criteria that you can go with. The student satisfaction reflect how students feeling about the learning experiences as a whole, and including the technology used and teaching approach, and how well they perceive the flipped or blended model contributing to their understanding of the subject. Then these questions that are giving valuable insights into how students felt about the flipped and blended approaches and highlight the areas of the improvement. So evaluating the effectiveness of blended and flipped learning model that involves using the combination of quantitative and qualitative feedbacks, and these all are gathering the data from multiple resources like survey, focus group, or peer observations, including the LMS analytics tools, where educator or can also gain a comprehensive understanding of strengths and weaknesses of the students through these models. So assessing the performance, engagement, and satisfaction, providing the valuable insights that can also inform the future course designs and improve the teaching strategies and enhance the overall learning experiences among the learners too. So here we are at the end of the session that I'm going to conclude this session that the blended learning and flipped learning models are also representing a significant shift in educational practices, which are also offering a dynamic approach that blended traditional or in-personal learning, all these together with online resources. And these models also empower the learners to make a charge of their learning journey by providing them with the core control of their activities when or how they are engaged with the content. And this is also making them responsible about their learning and their learning process too. And blended learning models also, which all these are combining face-to-face and online instructions, allowing them for a more flexible and personalized approach to learning to learning, enabling the learners to access the resources anytime, anywhere, wherever they are requiring. Technological tools like learning management system, that is LMS, multimedia content, and online resources are also essential for implementing these models effectively. So by using the LMS portal or platform, that educator can also easily manage the course material, assignments, assessments, ensuring the learners to have a good access over the resources. And additionally, multimedia content such as different videos, podcast, and interactive reading, all these are helping the learners to more engage and facilitate the learning outside the classroom. So assessing the students' progress through formative assessment, quizzes, and peer evaluation courses, that learning objectives are met and students are on the track. So this continuous feedback loop also help the learners or instructors adjust their teaching methods and provide the valuable insights into students' performance, where there are challenges in implementing these models, such as technological barriers and student resistance. These can also overcome with the right strategies, such as offering training and ensuring the reliable technology and cultivating the culture of initiation. So here we are at the end of the session where we introduced the blended and flipped learning model in this session. Here we also assessed the student learning in the blended and flipped model. We also tried to put some light over various challenges and solutions in implementing the blended and flipped learning. And we also tried to evaluate the effectiveness of blended learning and flipped learning in the model in this session. If you are having any query related to this session or related to previous session also, you can drop your query in the chat box, as this is open question and answer session.
Thank you very much, madam. As Speaker Madam rightly said, the session is open for discussion. You can clarify your doubts through chat box or unmuting your mics. I repeat, dear participants, the session is open for discussion. You can clarify your doubts through chat box or unmuting your mics.
I request again that if you are having any query related to this session or related to previous session, you can drop your query in the chat box, as well as you can ask your query through unmuting yourself.
Speaker madam,
Yes, sir.
yeah, if there is no question, can you recap the session in few lines?
Yes, definitely okay. So let's have a quick look at today's session. So today's topic for the discussion was technological enhancement teaching and blended learning, including flipped learning and hybrid approach, where in this session we tried to discuss the blended learning and flipped learning model, and we also assessed the students learning in the blended and flipped model, and we also tried to put some light over different challenges and solutions implementing the blended and flipped learning, and we also try to evaluate the evaluation effectiveness of blended and flipped learning in this model session here. So this blended learning, which is referring as a learning approach where traditional in-person classrooms instructions is combined with the online learning of components, and this model also provide a flexibility to the students by allowing them to access the learning material, including the participation in the discussion and complete assigned assessments online, and addition to the face-to-face interaction with the classroom. So here we also discussed that the flipped classroom learning, that the flipped classroom module is reverse to the traditional teaching approach. In flipped classroom, students are first introduced to the learning out component or content that outside of the class, and usually through online videos, reading the material, and class time is dedicated only to the different activities which are making them interactive and engaged with the content. And these activities are including discussions, problem solving, and group projects. So here in this session, we also discussed that how these models, both these models, contribute to a deeper students' understanding and engagement. Here we also discussed that how these technology tools for blended learning are required, where LMS, online resources, multimedia content, universities that are providing these different infrastructural tools are required before implementing or before adopting the blended learning or flipped learning both. So here we also discussed that how to integrate these strategies in for the technological tools, that is including the structured course design, active student participation, and continuous feedback too. So here we also discussed the different key principles and strategies for designing the flipped learning, and also try to discuss the best practice for creating the videos, lectures, and podcasts and different readings. Here in this session, we also discussed what are the different techniques for making the content engaging and accessible to the learner, where we talked about interactivity and gamification, personalization and accessibility, and other aspects also. So here we also discussed that how to incorporate the group activities, case studies, and peer feedbacks in the online and offline both the activities. Here we also discussed that how to assess the students' learning in the blended and flipped learning, where we talked about formative assessment, we talked about the peer evaluation, and we also talked about the uh, different other strategies too. So here we also discussed about the diverse teaching environments which are also influencing uh, the classroom plus online teaching too. So where students diverse need also discussed here, technological environment also discussed, social cultural environment also discussed, all these variables discussed in detail, and we also talked about the different benefits of personalizing the learning in blended and flipped model. So here we also talked about the different techniques for gathering the feedback from the students, where we talked about the survey and questionnaire. We also talked about the group, focus group and interviews. peer observation, and colleague feedback, including the LMS system and analytics. And here we also talked about how to measure the student performance, man engagement, and overall satisfaction too. Where in this student engagement, we talked about measuring the students' satisfaction. Then we talked about measuring the students' engagement too, and assessing the students' performance too. All these discussed in detail one by one here in this session. If you are having any query related to this session or related to previous session also, you can ask your query again. This is open question and answer session.
Dear participants, the session is open for discussion. You can clarify your doubts through chat box or unmuting your mics. I repeat, dear participants, the session is open for discussion. You can clarify your doubts through chat box or unmuting your mics. We are expecting one or two quick questions from participants. Speaker Madam, shall we stop here if there is no
Yes,
question
sir.
query?
We may stop here if there is no query.
So with this, we'll stop here. Once again, we'll meet on Monday evening. There will be no session on this Saturday and Sunday. So once again, we'll meet virtually on Monday, 7:30 p.m. So till then, take care. Bye-bye. Thank you, Speaker Madam. Thank you,
Yes, sir. Thank
participants.
you, sir, and thank you to all the participants who are present here.
Yeah. Good night, participants. Good night, Speaker Madam.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, madam.
Good night, Madam.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Good night, sir. Yeah. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you,
Good night,
madam.
Madam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam. Good night, Madam. Good night, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.